Hello and welcome to Military Monday. This is Bob Wheeler with ClearedJobs.Net. Today is February the 5th, 2024, first Monday of February. Hope everybody is doing well. Today's topic is going to be how to use job fairs for your military transition. Again, my name is Bob Wheeler with ClearedJobs.Net. Been with the company for 10 years, was in the Navy for 20 years prior to that. So I went through the whole process of the transition piece here, and I'm still one of the coaches. Besides being an account representative, I'm still one of the I deal with the employers, but also with the job seekers and do a lot of training classes for our military veterans as well. So we're going to be talking about how to use job fairs in your transition. If you happen to be joining us like on LinkedIn or something like that, and you have any comments or questions, you can throw those in there. As I see those things, if it's something that I can bring into the discussion, I'm more than happy to bring it into. We may be able to answer those offline as well. But if you're with us and you want to just join on there and let us know, where you are and where you're from. Are you, are you going to what branch of the service are you going to be getting out soon? That kind of a thing. Always nice to see what kind of folks we have out there in the audience. But today's little lunch and learn, again, we're going to be focusing on job fairs. And how are we going to do this? We're going to talk about a few different things. We're going to talk about the different types of job fairs. We're going to talk about what to wear to the job fairs, when to attend these things, what to do before you attend. We'll talk a little bit about that. We're going to talk about the resume that you might want to bring to a job fair and some things that you can do after you attend as well. So let's go ahead and jump right on into it and talk about the different types of job fairs that are out there. This is important because if you've never really been to a job fair, if you've only been to one, you might think that you've got it all figured out, but there are different types. There's geographic specific, there's industry specific, and then there's some that are diversity characteristic specific, and we'll break those pieces down here. So like a geographic specific, this might be the kind of thing that's, hosted on your base or your post. And when you go to a geographic specific job fair, you might see a wide variety of industries because the companies that are going there because of the location. You also might see at these types of job fairs, lots of other local educational organizations like some community colleges, stuff like that. Some assistance institutions might be there. The type of folks that kind of help you navigate through the transition piece might be there. But what you're going to see is going to be just so many different things because they're trying to really hit on the fact that it's a location specific thing. If there are big name corporations, which could be there, you could go, I lived out by Camp Lejeune, North Carolina, so if a job fair is going on in down here by Camp Lejeune, you might see some big name corporations, but you're unlikely to see very many recruiters there. What you will be seeing at a geographic specific or a post specific job fair is going to be more like the program managers of the folks who work there on that post. They've been asked like, hey, I want you to go talk to people over here. So the cool thing about that is you're going to be talking to people who do the business that's local right there. But if you're the kind of person that maybe you're going to an event station because you're stationed there, but you really want to, you're stationed in North Carolina, but you want to, move back to Ohio, the people that you meet at some of those events may not be the folks who are going to be the best fit for you. You also might see some other job fairs out there that are industry specific. It might be something like a healthcare specific job fair. ClearedJobs.Net, ours are industry specific in the sense that all of the jobs at a ClearedJobs.Net job fair involve companies that need people with security clearances. We have some that are for all clearance levels. We do some that are for just the high end, the counterintelligence or the polygraph cleared folks. You also might see some things like cybersecurity specific job fairs or aviation type job fairs. It's when you're doing those things, it's very industry specific. They might even be held in association with conferences or events. As a matter of fact, we do a job fair for cybersecurity talent in Huntsville, Alabama every year, which is in association with a big cybersecurity conference. So those are the kind of things that bring lots and lots of people together for that specific industry, which makes it a great place for the job fair for companies who are trying to hire that kind of talent. So this is one of those things. There's the goods and the bads. This is excellent if you're in that industry, but it may not be so great if you're not in that industry. So, for example, if you go to a cybersecurity job fair and you see companies that are there, but you don't do cybersecurity, maybe you're in logistics or maybe you're in, something completely different. The people, even if that company might need logisticians, the people who are there behind the tables, you got to remember they're going to be more. They're there to talk to cybersecurity people because that's what they're expecting. But again, if you're trying to, ClearedJobs.Net events, you got to have a security clearance. If you have a clearance and you want to try to leverage that clearance, when you go there, be ready to talk about that kind of thing, because that's exactly why those companies are there because they want to find people that have got a security clearance. Now, please note, veteran is not an industry. Veteran, I tell people all the time, being a veteran, that's not a skill set. It's definitely a plus in a lot of ways, but it's not a skill set. If a veteran, and you see some veteran job fairs that are out there. When you go out there and you might see the same way you might see, a minority job fair or students, you'll see a veteran job fair. If you go to a veteran job fair, you can expect to see a wide variety of industries. There's people that the companies that are out there are trying to, for one reason or another, they're trying to target the veteran community, and I don't want to say this in a bad way, but there are some things where to show that they are reaching out to specific groups of people, going to a specific job fair is one way to say that they're doing that. And I'm not saying that because they're not being disingenuous about it, but it's a way to engage a veteran population or a student population or whatever the case may be. What that also means is that the people behind the tables at those events, they're more there to speak to the big picture. A lot of the big corporations, they may have like veteran recruiting coordinators and things like that. They can talk about the process of their company, but they may not be able to speak specifically to, this position or that position. They're more along the lines of the big picture when you go to a characteristic specific job fair. Now, there's another type of event that's out there it doesn't fit those categories. It's virtual events. And these virtual events can also be of those other things. There can be veterans virtual events. We have Cleared Jobs virtual events too. So it's a subset of those other things. The nice thing about a virtual event is it's not confined to a specific area. So this can be great if you're stationed in Okinawa or you're stationed in Korea or Italy or something like that, and you're getting ready to transfer soon. The ability to jump onto a virtual event is great. And if you're going to do these events, just know there's a lot of great pieces out there on these platforms that you should be able to take advantage of. Almost everything out there. I know the events that we do at ClearedJobs.net have got voice and video available. So you want to be prepared for that. It starts with the chat. There's no doubt about it. But very quickly, the recruiter might say, hey, would you like to do a voice or a video call? So you want to be prepared for that. So you want to be, have a good phone, be dressed appropriately so that you can talk to somebody. But at the same time, remember that virtual events, not everybody's it might be clunky sometimes a little bit. It's not all the recruiters or hiring managers might be fluent with the virtual platform. So I bring this up because if you're going to do a virtual event, and there's training allowed, like I said, I know at our company, we do job seeker training on the virtual event so you can figure out how to navigate the site. We also do some of that training for the recruiters so that they know how to navigate the site and make it go nice and smooth. But every once in a while, you get somebody who didn't get a chance to make the training. And oftentimes, it might even be the hiring manager who's the one who didn't make the training because they're just so busy. So be a little bit patient with that and understand those things. But still, virtual events, they can be very, very useful, particularly for military folks who are stationed all over the place. So now we've talked about the different types of events. One of the questions, when should I start going to job fairs? We get this all the time. It's right up there with the question of like, hey, Bob, when should I start applying for jobs? And I tell people, that's not the right question. The real question is, when should I get into job search mode and transition mode and those types of things? So attending job fairs is something that's a great piece of that, a full year before you EAS. This is a great thing to do, is to go to a job fair even a year or more out, because a few things. Number one, psychologically, it's a big first step. The first time that you go to a job fair, it's kind of like admitting to yourself that says, you know what, I am not going to be in the Air Force forever. I am not going to be a Marine forever. So it kind of helps you get past that. Also, when you go early, the mistakes that you make don't cost you that much. If you go there and you say something silly, you say something stupid, you make a mistake, put your foot in your mouth, you know what? You've got plenty of time to fix those things. It's called the gap analysis is what we're doing. You can go to these things to kind of figure out, exactly what you need to do better before it starts to really, I guess, count, more. When you get to the point about 6 months out, now I think you're starting to work on making some connections. You're trying to identify the companies and the contacts. It's still too early to say, hey, do you have a job for me? But you're really at the stage where you're going to get a little bit kind of legitimate. You can start talking to specific companies, specific recruiters to talk about your skills, find out what they do, because you're building that network of the people that you're going to want to leverage here in a little bit. When you get to about 3 months out or less, now I guess you can really start to consider that it's appropriate to start thinking about, talking about a specific position. Like, I saw this job, I saw that job specifically. But even 3 months out, you'd be prepared that they may not be able to wait for you. In the private sector, if there's not somebody in that seat, that company's not making money. So it's very rare are they going to hold something for a few months. But if it's something that the timeline fits, they'll certainly want to continue to talk to you. And anytime you have the skills that company or that recruiter needs, those folks are going to want to stay in touch with you for, going on into the future to help build their pipeline as well. So those are some of the things about the job fairs that are great. And these are some of the times that you want to start going. Again, more than a year out, go ahead and go. I encourage you to go. It's a great thing. You're not going to get a job, but you're going to take that psychological step. You're going to find out things you need to know. 6 and 3 months out, you're starting to get a little bit more important information there. Now, what should you wear to a job fair? If you're going to a job fair on base, you can wear uniform of the day. That's fine. When you go to those things, you'll see that probably 90% of the job seekers there are there in the uniform of the day. And a lot of times that's what the recruiters expect too. They go there, they set it up for the middle of the day. They know they're going to get a big push between 11 and 1300. You're going to have people, coming at their lunchtime just to kind of cruise through. So you can wear your uniform of the day for those things. But if you're going to an off-base event, I really encourage you not to wear your uniform. I mean, you could, as long as it's the correct type of uniform, like a lot of services, you can't wear your camis or your BDUs out in town, but if your branch lets you, you could, if there's no other option. You certainly don't need to wear your dress uniform or anything like that. But I would really say if it's an off-base event, do your best to not wear your uniform, both psychologically for you, but also you need to be practicing that you're Bob Wheeler, you're not just, your rank. You want to be the person, not the rank. So appropriate business attire is preferred. Suits aren't mandatory, but they're not bad either. You should always think to yourself, I need to be a little bit more dressed up than everybody else there, but not too dressed up. If you have a suit and you want to wear one, you see that at job fairs all the time. Got people in suits. It shows they're a job seeker, but it's not mandatory. You just need to look like you planned on being there. You should be, dressed up enough that people say, oh, that's a job seeker. He or she knew they were going to be here today and they look like they got their stuff together, basically. Let's see here. I got a nice comment here, says that they can say that this is one of the better job fairs they participated in. So thank you, plus 20 years now, I guess. I mean, I've only been here for 10, but yeah, we see a lot of veterans come to our job fairs. Lots of veterans come to our job fairs. So what can you do before the event? Events like ours, one of the nice things is you can look on the website and see who's going to be there. And I think this is probably pretty common for just about every job fair that's out there. So do the research, look on there to see what kind of companies are going to be at those events so that you can kind of figure out what your plan is going to be, because it is nice to have a plan at a job fair. As you look at those events, as you look at the list of companies, you can also see the types of positions that are available. This is from the job fair we just had last week. GDIT had, all their positions that they were recruiting for. Some of these that I've highlighted here, if you kind of notice though, they're not information technology positions. So this is a great example of, don't go just by what the title of the company is, just because it says, information technology or such and such cyber or such and such whatever. Look at the jobs that they're trying to fill, because executive admin assistant, staff officer position, there's motor vehicle operator on here. So when you look at these things, you might think to yourself, oh, I don't need to go talk to that table, but maybe you do. If you're a junior person coming out, I mean, admin assistant is one of those things that can be a great position for lower enlisted folks coming out. In a company like this, they need your clearance. It's one of the big things they need. And if you're more of a junior officer, that staff officer position, go talk to them, find out what it means, because they've got a lot of job titles on here that are very vague. And if the company lists it on the website for the event, there's a great chance that the recruiters at that table will be prepared to talk about those specific positions. Now, if you go to a job fair and you see stuff on there that has nothing to do with what you do, you can still stop by and talk to that table, especially if it's a big company. GDIT is a huge company, for example. There might be others that were there too. I would just suggest that when you go and talk to the recruiters, you can just say, hey, I know the things that you're recruiting for here aren't exactly what I do. But this is what I do. I'm again, logistician. I'm an Intel analyst. You know, I'm a medical person, whatever it is. And you can ask them some questions about those things. Just understand that the bigger the company, recruiters are kind of separated out by what they deal with. So you may be talking to recruiters that don't know everything about those jobs, but they'll be able to help get you in touch with things. And the other thing is with these big companies, they're going to still be very good at telling you how the application process works. So even if you say, hey, I saw a position on your website, it's not listed here, I'm thinking about applying to a position there. Are there any tips you can tell me about how the application process works so that you can make sure that you're working through their system the right way? Now, the resume. We get tons and tons and tons of questions about resumes, and we do other training on resumes themselves. I'm just going to talk a little bit right now about a job fair resume. So there's a few things that you might want to think about when you talk about a job fair resume. First of all, the summary section, which is right up top there. If you're going to be transitioning, go ahead and list up at the top there when you're going to be transitioning. You can say, Navy veteran, available for hire October 2024, right? You list that, or March 2025. You list those things so that they can know, because if a recruiter sees what you've got, they want to know where you're going to fit into the process, and they do want to hang on to your stuff. And if you're not good for them right now, but you're still good for them later on, they're going to make a note when they can follow back up with you. One of the other things that you want to do is, you might want to make your resume a little bit broad. You might want to address, you hear all the time, and I think this is great. This is terrific advice, that you want to make your resume match a specific job, right? That's exactly what you want to do. But when you go to a job fair, you're talking to, 15, 20, we get 26 companies at some of our job fairs, lots of different things. So you can make your resume a little bit more broad, talk about all the things that you do, because when you submit a resume, at least when you go to a resume at one of our job fairs, your resume goes to all the companies who are there, and they'll get in there and they'll search by keywords. So you don't know what's going to hit to bring you up and talk about things. We'll talk a little bit about how you can bring that resume down. When it comes to a specific job, you might want to make a whole new resume for that, just to distill it down to just the things that they're looking for. But at the job fair, think big, think broad, go ahead and kind of list everything that you had there. Now, what are you going to do while you're there? You took your resume, you've done some stuff, you've submitted the resume when you registered. Once you're there, take advantage of any extra services that might be there. A lot of our job fairs, we have resume review that can go on. We've done other things at some of our job fairs where we'll do like a roundtable discussion where we talk to recruiters. Go early, take advantage of those things if you're a transitioning veteran, because one of the things that veterans have a hard time with is really understanding the hiring process. So the more people you can talk to, the more valuable information you're going to get. If you go to some of those events that are at, like we said, some industry specific events, maybe you go to a cybersecurity conference or an admin conference or logistician conference or something like that, hit up some of those things, get better at your industry, so take advantage of those things. Also, when you go, talk to as many booths as possible. Not listed on the slide, but one piece of good advice is when you looked at those companies that you're really trying to hit, save the best for last. And I don't mean the best like the best company. I mean the best fit, the ones that are the ones that have the type of jobs that you really want to do. Go to them last. Go to some of the ones that aren't a great fit. Go to them first, because it'll help get you in the flow of things. You'll get used to talking to the recruiters and asking the questions. As you're standing in line, you'll hear other people asking questions. So I would save your best ones for last, because you'll be in the right mind frame of what you want to talk about. And a lot of people do it the other way. They go to the one that they want to talk to first, like they're afraid they're going to run out of jobs. No, take your time. It'll be good. Just kind of move your way around. When you get up there, don't monopolize the recruiter's time. As a guy who was a recruiter, other folks who are recruiters, it can be a little frustrating when they're standing there and you're talking and they're looking over your shoulder because the line is 5 or 6 or 7 people deep. And they're thinking to themselves, okay, well, I've got Bob's resume, but I'm afraid these people behind them are going to decide to leave. So don't monopolize the recruiter's time. Have a nice brief conversation. The last bullet that's on this slide says, the longer conversations are more likely towards the end of the event. What this means is job fairs have this big rush at the beginning. Lots and lots of people, they all show up. The recruiters are doing their best. They're talking to everybody. halfway through, 3/4 of the way through the event itself, it starts to really slow down. So if you're a job seeker and you want to have a good conversation with somebody, go then, because there's nobody behind you. The recruiters will be more than happy to have a good conversation with you. And if it's a hiring manager that happens to be there or a program manager, they are going to be all about talking to you specifics about, talking your language, about computer programming or whatever it is that you do. So those conversations are better the second half of a job fair as opposed to the first half of the job fair. Now, after the event's over, you've done all your stuff, make professional connections with the recruiters. Any recruiter that you catch their name, I tell you, go back the next day, shoot over a LinkedIn request, put a little note in there that says, "Hey, Lisa, met you at the ClearedJobs.Net job fair yesterday. Thought it would be a good idea to connect." Recruiters love to connect. And, in places like LinkedIn, it helps you because it makes your searching a little bit easier because you've got second and third connections now. So definitely do that, but leave that note that says that that's how you connected with them. The other thing about connecting with recruiters is sometimes the recruiters move around. You might connect with a recruiter at one company, but you were still a year from EAS. By the time you're about to get out, that person maybe, have moved to a different company. And then when they start looking through their LinkedIn connections for different types of people, you're going to pop up. Or you might reach out to them and realize they're at a new company that you never heard of before. There's tons and tons and tons of government contractors. And, you don't even know how many there are until these recruiters move around and you realize that he or she's now at a new company. So make those connections with the recruiters that you go and see. If you do apply for, online after the event, so let's say that you go there and the recruiter says, "Hey, you look like a good fit. I need you to apply online." First of all, that's not a bad thing. There's a lot of government contracting regulations out there from the federal government where they need to filter all their applications through the application process. No matter how great of a fit you're going to be, they'll say you need to apply online. So if you do it on your own, or if they tell you to do it, once you're done, if you've got their email address, reach out to them and mention, "Hey, I went ahead and applied for that position," and give them the job ID number too, because some of these bigger companies, they may have 10 positions that say staff officer. There might have been 6 positions for motor vehicle operator or admin assistant or whatever. So when you apply for that position, go ahead and list the job ID number that you applied for. And then if you applied with a better resume, so let's say you went to the ClearedJobs.Net job fair, you had your general resume for everything. That's what you submitted. That's what they've got a copy of. They told you that you should go ahead and apply online to a position. When you do that, apply with your targeted resume now. And then when you send that person an email, that recruiter, go ahead and include a copy of your targeted resume and just say, "Hey, I went ahead and applied. I applied for that cybersecurity role. Here's my resume that was targeted for that, towards that piece." It lets them know that if the resume that they have, that may not be the best version of it anymore. So it lets them know there's a new version of it. So there you go. Make your connections, apply online, connect with the recruiter, let you know you did it, and use that targeted resume when you do it that time. So that's been our little talk today about job fairs. I want to thank you for joining us. If you have any questions, you can reach out to me, Bob Wheeler at ClearedJobs.Net. You can hit me up on LinkedIn. You can see if you're with us live, we've got some job fairs coming up. February 22nd is a virtual event, all clearances. It's on the Brazen platform, so you can go ahead and register to that thing. Should have some good companies that are there. If you have a full scope or a counter intel polygraph, March 6th, we've got a job fair there up by Fort Meade. And then on April the 4th in Tyson's Corner, we have an all clearances job fair. And again, if you're here on LinkedIn and you say, "I can't make it to those things," let me encourage you to go ahead and still register if you're in the right window for these things, because all the resumes of people who register for these events do get sent to all the companies that are there. So it can still be a good thing to register. But if it's an in-person event and you can make it, there's so much more to be gained if you can show up. So we would love to see you. And if you happen to be there and I happen to be there, then say hello to me. So I appreciate everything. I see some people in the comments section, tell me they're in the DC area. I see my buddy Jeff saying hello. He's over there at Paraton, always a good dude to catch up with. So guys, that's really all we've got today. I hope you have a great rest of your Monday, and we will catch you next month for Military Monday again in March. Bye-bye.